go ahead.
Well, that was a smooth transition.
I told you to shush, but you didn't listen.
Welcome, one and all, to the Horny Goat YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody coming in and dropping by as we're trying something a tad bit different here on this week's installment. So normally Fridays are our movie watch-along nights. However, this one's a little different. This time we're actually going to be doing the reviews of the actual movies themselves for various bunch of reasons, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But this week we are doing the classic, one of Steven Spielberg's finest, I guess you could say horror suspense thriller movies, whichever way you want to slice it. And JP's personal favorite.
Won Academy Awards, man. It was up for Academy Awards. I mean, how can
it's a classic.
Not?
It's a classic. We're talking, of course, the 1975 American thriller known as Jaws. The original, the OG, the one that told you it was no longer safe to swim in the water. We're going to be talking about this movie in depth, much similar to the Marvel Roundtable movies. So if you guys want to join in the conversation, make sure you guys join us in the chat as we discuss the in-depth ones, and maybe even leave some comments and suggestions that we'll read throughout the evening. But of course, I am not alone. I'm joined by the power couple of the Horny Goat. We got JP and Heather with us. What's going on?
Not much, man. We actually just finished watching the movie because I had to refresh my brain, so I had to take some notes. This is one of my favorite movies. This is the very first movie that I seen in the theater. Yes, I seen this in the theater at the age of three, I think I was.
Jesus, you saw this at 3 years old?
And I will be straight up honest with you. I laughed when the shark would kill people, and I cried when they killed the shark.
I actually don't feel like I'm that surprised by that revelation, knowing you. I don't feel like I'm that surprised. But Heather, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. Bit tired because somebody decided to keep me up until 5 o'clock in the morning.
JP, why did you keep her up till 5 o'clock in the morning?
I wish I could keep her up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Anyway, we got the wonderful, fantastic people joining us in the chat. We, of course, got Alpha, Jurgen, the real Cody, Lewis, Money, what's going on? And Tim, what's going on, Tim? Appreciate everybody coming in and dropping by. Of course, if you are here, smash that like button. And also, you might be able to hear this review over on the Horny Goat Podcasting Network. So we'll drop some links later on if you haven't subscribed to us over on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, all the fun stuff where you can check out No Bucks Given, Marvel Roundtable, and maybe even these movie reviews down the pipeline. So as I mentioned before, we normally the watch along is every Friday, but we figured it gets too quiet during those watch alongs. It gets a little dull. So rather than have the watch along where unfortunately we can't showcase the movie to you guys because of evil YouTube corporate bastards, we figured it'd probably be more fun and interactive to review these movies with you guys. And so of course we're starting off with JP's favorite, Jaws from 1975. I have not seen this movie in probably a decade, and this was a great refresher, and I'm really glad that JP picked this one, because I'll be honest with you, there are things that I appreciate about this movie more this time around than I did the last time. But we'll get into all the specifics of it.
For me, it's a true appreciation of horror movies. It's more of, this is what I think like horror movies should be. They should be suspense thrillers, like the original Halloween, where there's not all of this blood flying all over the place. Now, there is blood in this movie, but it's a fucking 25-foot fucking shark eating fucking people. So, of course, there's going to be blood. But it's the suspense of when is this thing going to hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they did a really good job in this movie of jump scaring people. Like, it didn't make me jump scare, but like my mom, it made her jump scare.
There was one particular jump scare. I'm like, I was mad because they usually don't get me. And I'm like, damn it, the movie got me. And we'll get to that in a second. But of course, I also pinned over in the chat if you guys want to let us know what you would rank Jaws on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute pinnacle best that you can be, and 1 being that, well, I'm going to go swim in the kiddie pool. Let us know your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10. We'll be reading your comments all throughout. We'll talk about that in Alpha. We'll hit you up as soon as we're done. We didn't realize you mentioned that in the section, but
What Alpha put in the chat?
But hope you're feeling better, man. Rest up. I mean, obviously, if you can't stick around, no worries. I totally understand that. But we always appreciate you stopping by. So hopefully you're recovering very, very soon and very quickly, my friend. So I guess we'll kick things off with a little bit behind the scenes, JP, as far as like the production of this movie. I mean, this is I almost forgot this was a Steven Spielberg movie, but at the same time, it's like, well, no shit, it's a Steven Spielberg once you see the movie. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is his first movie or his second movie, but he's only 26 years old at the time that he made this movie.
No shit.
So it starts out that Richard Zanuck, and I'll try to run through this as quick as possible. The development, the production portion of it. The development was Richard Zanuck and David Brown, producers at Universal Pictures, who picked up this movie. Independently heard about Peter Benchley's novel Jaws, which in the novel, they follow it, but they sway away from it to a certain extent. They change a few things in the movie from the novel, and we'll get to that. It's a good choice that they did that. Brown came across it in the literature section of the lifestyle magazine Cosmopolitan, then edited by his wife, Helen Gurley Brown. A small card written by the magazine's book editor gave detailed description of the plot, concluding in the comment, might make a good movie. Might make a good movie. And it might. At the time, think about it at the time. This is 1972 when they started this, and you got to remember the effects aren't caught up to where they are today. Now imagine if Jaws was made today. What they could do.
The sucker that would fly out of the ocean and like hover over it.
But letting Steven Spielberg direct the movie. Think about that for a minute.
Yep.
The producers each read the book over the course of a single night, which is a lot because the book is like that fucking thick.
It's a monster.
It's a big book. And the next morning that it was the most exciting thing that they had ever read and that they wanted to produce a film version of the movie.
Of the book.
Although they were very unsure how it would get accomplished because, again, it's 1972. A shark isn't going to fucking play along. 1973. Whatever. A shark isn't going to get along with anybody. A shark is just going to want to eat people. So they had to figure out how they were going to do this. They bought the film rights in 1973 for approximately $175,000, equivalent to $1.02 million in today's money.
Which is chump change compared to how much the money actually made.
Right. Brown claimed that they read the book twice, that they never would have made the film because they would have realized how difficult it would be to execute certain scenes.
I mean, we'll get into more details, but the way they were able to pull off some stuff, I think still holds up to this day.
Yeah, I agree. The first filmmaker that they had thought of was John Sturgis, whose resume included another maritime adventure, The Old Man and the Sea, before offering the job to Dick Richards. So Dick, whose directorial, it would have been his directorial debut, was The Culpeper Cattle Company, had come out the previous year. They soon grew irritated by Dick's habit of describing the shark as a whale and dropped him from the project. I mean, a shark and a whale are two different things, man. Meanwhile, Steven Spielberg very much wanted the job. The 26-year-old had just directed The Sugarland Express for Zanuck and Brown. And at the end of the meeting in their office, Spielberg noticed their copy of the still unpublished Benchley novel. And after reading it, was immensely captivated. He later observed that it was similar to his 1971 television film Duel. In that both deal with these leviathans targeting every man. He also revealed the making of Jaws documentary, and I've seen the documentary, on the 2012 DVD release, that they directly reference Duel by repurposing the sound of the truck being destroyed as the death roar of the shark. And if you remember, and we'll get to it, after Richards' departure, the producer signed Spielberg to direct the film in June of 1973 before the release of Sugarland Express. Before production began, Spielberg grew reluctant to continue with Jaws in fear of becoming typecast as a truck and shark director. Look at where he is today, people. He wanted
Still doing trucks and sharks.
Right. He wanted to move over to 20th Century Fox's Lucky Lady instead, but Universal exercised its right under its contract with the director to veto his departure.
Wow.
Brown helped convince Spielberg to stick with the project, saying that after Jaws, you can make all the films you want. And he does.
Oh, yes, he does.
The film was given an estimated budget of $3.5 million.
Yep.
And shooting schedule of only 55 days.
That's fun. Well, I can sort of see that, but at the same time, given some of the effects on this thing, yeesh, that's kind of tricky.
Principal photography was set to begin in 1974. Universal wanted to shoot to finish by the end of June. When major studios' contract with the Screen Actors Guild was due to expire to avoid any disruptions due to a potential strike. So there was a writers the Screen Actors Guild strike pending while this movie was being made.
And not the first one that we know about in history too. And just on a quick side note here, we were talking about that you said they won awards. So I quickly looked up. They did. This movie obviously has won 3 Oscars in 1976. Best Sound. Duh. Best film editing, duh. Best music, again, duh. Like that's a no-brainer. It was nominated.
So,
oh, God.
What people may not know, is who wrote the music for this movie, and how many and I can't remember if I can find it in here. But I think the music. Okay, so John Williams, one of the greatest composers, composed Star Wars. He is what makes those characters work. John Williams is the best at his craft, in my opinion. He is the best at his craft at making music and making characters out of that fucking music. I don't care what anybody says. John Williams is the best composer, music maker of all time. You can't fight him.
It's very hard. I can't even think of anyone that's better than him. That's a tough call. So the only downside is that it lost the Best Picture award for that year. It was nominated.
It was nominated, which it says a lot for a movie about a shark, and the shark was maybe in the movie for a half hour.
If you want to count certain scenes or not. But you know who it lost to?
Go ahead.
It lost to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty good movie.
It's like, fuck. That's a tough call.
So there's two alternating patterns. There's alternating patterns of 2 notes for the dun dun. Yep. And those notes are variously identified as E and F, or F and F sharp.
Or F up.
2 notes. Won a fucking Oscar. Think about that for a minute.
Sometimes simplicity works well, you know.
Yeah.
But John Williams and Steven Spielberg are to get like peanut butter and jelly. You know, they're fucking perfect combination. So it's hard to split that group up whenever they're together. They are fucking the dynamic duo of movie storytelling sometimes between the directing and the act. I mean, fuck,
So-
they're so good. And this is a clear example of
So
it.
reason why John Williams is so good is and I think Steven Spielberg and all of the people that were on that DVD said this. If it would have been anybody else, it would have just been the shark swimming around. There would have been no,
Right.
and it wouldn't have worked because the shark doesn't make a noise. Sharks don't make sounds. They don't. At least from what we know. So that dunna
Imagine.
is his voice, which is great.
Imagine they did it with a lame voice. It was like, oh, yeah.
So principal
Either that or when he jumped out of the water onto the boat, you heard.
Well, I think that was the boat itself, but
No,
I get you.
I was throwing the dolphin noise.
I got you. Principal photography. You know, sometimes I'm trying to do something here, and sometimes your jokes just fly over my head. Whatever. Principal photography began May 2nd, 1974, on the island Martha's Vineyard. Everybody knows famous Martha's Vineyard. That's where the president vacations.
So much Boston accents in this movie.
Massachusetts. There was a funny scene in the movie at the beginning when Chief Brody, and we'll get to that. I'll save that for.
Yeah.
After consideration was given to Eastern Long Island, Brown explained later the production needed a vacation area that was lower middle class enough so that appearance of a shark would destroy the tourist's business, which makes sense. Martha's Vineyard was also chosen because of the surrounding ocean and sandy bottom that never dropped below 35 feet out of shore, which allowed the,
Makes it easy for filming.
the mechanical sharks to operate while also being beyond sight of land. As Spielberg wanted to film aquatic sequences relatively close up to resemble what people see while swimming, which is genius. It's genius, and it added to the suspense.
There was a lot of things in the movie that not only were unique for the time, unique for the genre, unique for a lot of different reasons. And on top of that, like I said, still holds up. One of the big things I love about this movie is that you do not see the shark in its entirety until arguably the the movie ends. We'll get there plot point wise, but the movie ends when everything's wrapped up literally within 3 minutes of the movie ending. You don't usually see that nowadays. You usually see movies have the conclusionary point or the resolution to the point, and then there's a little bit of filler at the end or wrapping up loose ends.
Yep.
Whereas here, the climax is literally keeping you on the edge of your seat and until the last 90 fucking seconds of the film, which I can't remember seeing that.
Right. So the mechanical shark did not always work.
I've heard this. Yeah.
Production.
I've heard this.
So there's two scenes. One scene before the scene that everybody says the first time you see the shark. It's not true. You actually see the shark before that. But the shark didn't full on work that great. So they did not. What was so great about it is this. It was a happy accident that the shark didn't work. Because for that reason alone, you don't see that shark full on until it pops out of the water. And the famous line, one of the most famous lines in Hollywood is, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." But the shark didn't work 75% of the time, I think they said. And it ended up taking, the movie went over its 55 days. It took 159 days to finish this movie.
I think they also ended up going through 3 of the boats.
That sounds about right. I mean, I believe that. Peter Parker just said in the chat too, the movie was a nightmare to make.
It was.
Yes, it malfunctioned
They also filmed it during the fall and close to winter months. Because if they would have tried filming it during the summer,
They would have been overrun.
They would have been overrun by the people vacationing, and it wouldn't have worked, and it would have become a even bigger production nightmare. So they did it during the fall and winter months, and the water was cold, and you could tell that it was cold because sometimes when you'd see the people getting in the water, they were tiptoeing and they were like having that
or
issue.
the very first, or the skinny dipping scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which we're gonna. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, the music won an Oscar. John Williams, great composer. This was his probably first. I want to say, was this his first movie that he did?
What, Spielberg's or John Williams?
John Williams.
I can tell you in a moment.
He may have done something, but he never. This is like his kickoff
First big
point.
recognition, yeah.
It looks like. No. He started to get really more. Valley of the Dolls was 1967. So he kind of started in the 60s. He also did various television programs such as Lost in Space. Holy shit, didn't know that one.
Yeah.
But then kind of Jaws was sort of his. He won a first Academy Award for Fiddler on the Roof, and then Towering Inferno, Cowboys, blah blah blah, and then '74. Jaws was the big one, but that's where he teamed up with Spielberg for a second time, and then boom, just kind of took off from there. So, time to talk story. So right off the bat, New England beach town of Amity Island. The accents are so.
I really love the opening credits to this because it starts out
in the
dark,
scene,
and then all of a sudden it pops up water. You're underwater, and you're hearing Donna, 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 and what it is, you're seeing the sharks swimming around.
Who's Donna? I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was hoping I was going to say that, and I was waiting to see.
You're seeing everything from the shark's point of view, which you do see a lot of. You do see that, especially in the first half of this movie, because the shark didn't work.
So a young woman, Christy Watkins, goes skinny dipping in the ocean. I had to make sure I watched this scene very carefully.
Christy Watkins. You're correct. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the name is the most important thing I was making sure I was paying attention to in this part of the movie. While treading the water, she is unknowingly attacked by an unseen force. Of course, she's dragged back and forth. This was kind of brutal, and what I found very interesting about this first death was. So she's basically followed by a guy that's like a bunch of teens partying at the beach. She goes in the water. He passes out basically right at shoreline. She's in the water and she gets killed by an unknown force. But what I really like is that A, you don't see anything. B, she gets kind of like attacked. Then she grabs the buoy and she thinks she's safe. And then she's not. And she gets dragged. And you see like the top of her kind of almost like synchronized swim dragged around. But no, like it's just kind of like, and then you see like I think you see like a little bit of the red. It might have been too dark, but what I really liked is the fact that you didn't. It was first of all very like what the fuck like within the first 5 minutes, and for me it kind of made it feel more, for lack of a better word, like real, is the fact that she was like able to like get away for a second, and then like you think she's in the clear, and nope, she gets killed.
Right. So if for those of you that don't know how that scene was made, it was actually done by jet skis and two guys underneath the water pulling on her. Oh, did I steal your thunder?
Just pulling. I was saying, man, it was like I wish I could have ridden the jet ski.
So she was hooked by a harness.
Yeah,
correct?
she had a special belt on that had line on either side, and a line on the front and back of her. And what they did is they took turns on the jet skis going back and forth, and then pulling her down.
Oh, that must have been so much fun, especially if she pissed them off.
Oh, that's one of the things she said in the interview that she did for this movie was she sat there and said if one of them just decided to be wrong, I would have been ripped in half.
Right.
Oof.
For me, what I got out of this, the iconic music, the opening credits,
Yep.
and then it cuts to, I think they're teens on a beach. I'm not sure. It might be college students on a beach, whatever. I put that in question
It's
marks.
the locals.
The famous attack, which is also the inspiration for the poster,
Well, if you wanna-
Right. Yep.
which you can see on the screen, is the actual poster. The opening attack scene is the inspiration for the poster.
Which is nice because it harkens back to days where things weren't spoiled so much or looked into or trailers or shit like that.
Right. So
I miss the simpler times sometimes.
right. So Chrissy disappears under the water. Cut scene to Brody getting out of
The
bed.
next morning.
Who looks like me getting out of bed in the morning.
I was thinking the same thing. So, I'm gonna try and like make sure I mention parts and scenes that are the most important. But of course, he's getting out of bed. He's Brody is of course yeah, I'm trying to remember what his actual title. He's sheriff. Is
He's
it
the
sheriff?
Chief of
Chief
police.
Commissioner.
Chief of police. Okay, I couldn't remember what his actual title was. But of course, throughout the course of the day, I love how it's such a small little town that not a lot of much happens, and you hear like things of like, these damn kids are karate chopping.
The picket fences down.
The picket fence. But the point is that he finds the next day the partial remains of Chrissy. They do bring her back. The medical examiner concludes that the death was due to a shark attack based off some pieces. The other interesting part is that, and again, I know this is probably dating and everything, is that you don't really see a lot of well, I shouldn't say a lot of gore. You see gore in this in certain parts, like limbs and stuff, but like we never saw Chrissy's body. We never
No.
saw the.
But you do see her hand, and they
That's
do
it.
show. They
Right,
do
I mean,
show. Yeah.
There's
Right.
bits and pieces of it. But again, that harkens back to, for me personally, of like, I kind of like that because the less of more mentality.
Less
like at this
is
point,
more.
you can put two and two together that obviously it's a shark that's attacked this person, right? But I think obviously when we get to the boating part way down the line, you don't see the sucker for a very good part of the movie, which I really appreciated because it's like, yeah, you know what a shark looks like, but at the same time,
We
not
don't know
seeing
what
it is
species
that's
of shark
killing
it
you.
is that's attacking.
Right.
Right, yeah, and that leads on to that. But
I do want to go back just a smidge when he gets in the truck, the Blazer or whatever it is, and drives, and he drives past the billboard, the famous billboard.
Yep,
It shows up twice in this movie.
Yep,
And there's a
Billboard.
reason why. There's a reason why that billboard shows, because of what happens later in the movie.
Yep. So,
Great shooting
So-
by Spielberg there. I just wanted to point
yeah.
that out.
so the medical examiner concludes that the death was due to a shark attack that leads the police chief Martin Brody to attempt, keyword attempt, to close the beaches. So this is where I think where you get like the little bit of the classic horror element of the person who just doesn't fucking believe you whatsoever. So the mayor swears up and down, left and right, or tries to convince Martin Brody that this wasn't a shark attack. This was a boating accident. Boats come down there all the time, right? And he's literally having the goddamn fucking medical examiner with him on the boat, trying to like coerce him to like, well, I changed my mind. I was wrong. What do you mean you changed your mind? You were wrong. You swear to testify against that? Yes. It's like, come on, man. Like, we know what's going on. And again, classic horror trope. You're going to have somebody who doesn't believe and doesn't want to listen.
Well,
So,
I mean,
but I did like that for a little bit.
Right. So the problem with that, and this is why the mayor is as Jurgen put it, is a dumbass and a jerk, You are correct. It's because, again, the production team did a really good job of depicting this place where if nobody shows up because of a shark, we're going to lose money and we're screwed economically. So that's why the mayor's like, I don't want that to happen. Is there another do whatever you have to do, mentality? But we're not shutting the beaches down because it was a boating accident. That was the first mistake he made.
Right. Well, there is one thing I'm going to nitpick about the mayor later on that we'll get to. There's one very crucial part, but we'll get to that in a minute. But again, it's the classic trope of in the horror movie of like, that's bullshit, that's fakakta, whatever. It just made me instantly hate him that much more. So of course, the mayor persuades him to reverse the decision, or like JP said, the economy is going to go down the toilet. The coroner, like I said, he's like, no, it was a boating accident, definitely was. Brody, of course, is still very uneasy, but he reluctantly accepts that, fine, she was killed in a boating accident, fine, whatever. We'll go with that. And of course, things go as normal. Things go back more normal as usual. But unfortunately, on the beach, this one actually, I don't know about you, this one messed me up more. Like, we had the first kill that was pretty brutal with Chrissy getting murdered. I feel like the boy, Alex, the second one, was so much worse. I know we barely didn't see anything. We didn't see anything. We saw no body. We saw no limbs. All we saw was, and this is again the genius of less is more. It was a regular beach going day. Child goes out. He's like, Mom, can I go back out in the water just one more time? Yeah, sure, whatever. And then of course he goes out. And what I thought was genius was, again, you get the the music coming up and the suspense. But it was a quick. It's a quick flash. Right. It's a very quick flash of you see a bunch of people, and I actually had to stop and like rewatch the part because you see the shark for like a split second, for just a split moment, and then you just see the red, and then you have everybody get the hell out of Dodge and like get out of the water. I
want to go back to that particular scene right there, the Kittner attack.
Yeah.
So sharks are attracted to splashing and distress, right? I know they're attracted to, something that looks like a seal. But he swims past all the kids splashing about to attack the Kintner boy. I just don't. I mean.
Oh, you're right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I forgot.
I could see him taking and we didn't know a lot about sharks back in 1975. Fine, I get it. I can buy it. Right. But today, if this movie was made, the shark probably just would have taken a bite out of somebody, at least.
You can make the arguments of like, well, he was swimming by himself, or the kids were sliding. But yeah, I get what you're saying, because you're right. He does swim past a couple of them, and it's like, well, why didn't you just? Yeah.
Semantics. So they did, but then again, I can buy it because back then in 1975, again, it's nitpicking, but there are certain things that you just can't get away with today. You can't just. But we're gonna swim past. We're gonna attack just the Kittner boy because we can't wait till Brody gets slapped in the face. It's just. If you know what I mean, it's just I can't buy that today, but I'm not hating on it.
No, you even saw like Brody trying to read up on sharks, and even the guy, and even what's his name they bring in later on. What do you call it? Oh my God, what's the name? Hooper. When they bring in even Hooper in later, you can see that they're still researching and still looking up stuff on sharks. So it's not like, you're right, there's more extensive knowledge nowadays, but but now at this point everyone's seen it. This isn't a situation where it's an isolated incident. Now everyone saw this attack. So the Trown is bullshit. they get together. They do the famous the scene where they're all arguing and yelling about who's going to catch the shark. How are they going to go about this? We'll put a $3,000 bounty whoever's able to take this one out.
Right.
The mother is or not the mother, but someone else is saying like, "Oh, you're going to close the beaches," and he's like, and Brody says yes, and then the mayor chimes in for 24 hours, just for 24 hours, and then finally it culminates in the end scene with. Of course, and I'm probably going to take a guess and say JP's favorite character, Quint, scratching his hands or scratching his nails on the chalkboard, saying that he would.
The intro of Quint, with a chalkboard scratching. That's on my notes. Perfect. Got it. Yep.
Was he of course is the professional shark fisherman, offers his services for $10,000. Meanwhile, Brody, who is trying to get his information, tries to. Bring on an oceanographer in order to examine Chrissy's remains and help kind of do more about the shark. But Quint is my favorite character, absolutely bar none.
I like Hooper. Hooper's my favorite character in this movie.
Really?
I love Hooper. I love Richard Dreyfuss. I think he's a great actor, and he played his part so good. What I really like, Quint's my second favorite.
Yeah.
Because the interaction when it gets to that point, we'll talk about it on the boat, is so fucking good.
It is good. It's one of the highlights of the movie for
me.
The
three guys that they had in this movie, especially at the last third of this movie, it made the movie that much better.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, there are certain points where you're rooting for Quint to get killed because he's being a douche canoe, but you're also rooting for him because you want him to kill the shark.
Right. To backtrack real quick, Heather, I mean, I was just saying to JP earlier, the first kill was pretty brutal with Chrissy getting murdered, but I felt like, I don't know if it was just me, felt like when Alex Kittner got killed, I felt that was much worse.
Oh, it was because of the fact that it was a kid.
I think, and the shock value, because you never see that in movies ever. You've never see a kid get harmed in a movie, but
up to that point.
I mean, Halloween, in 2018, they just didn't give a fuck either. But you don't see that, and I actually liked that aspect. It showed that the shark isn't Jason Voorhees and he's just going after fucking kids who are having sex and smoking joints and shit. It actually showed the shark does not give a shit if you're food, I'm eating your ass. I like that. I love that aspect.
Oh, okay.
I love that aspect of this movie because it does not discriminate. Kill the dog! Pit that!
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He kills a dog. Equal opportunity consumer. So we got the introduction of Quinn. I'll catch your shark for you. Love that. Oh, yeah. Heather, who's your favorite character in the movie?
Actually, mine has to be Brody.
The three of us are the group.
I mean, Brody, he's really good in Jaws 2. My favorite scene in Jaws 2 is when he goes to get into his truck. He gets fired, and he opens up his door, and all the beer cans fall out of the police car. It's great.
That's funny. Each one of us likes a different member of the triage at the end. That's funny. So meanwhile, while all this craziness is going on, Brody wants to bring on an oceanographer to know what the fuck he's dealing with, what the fuck is going on. He brings on Matt Hooper, who examines, the first thing he does is examine Chrissy's remains and confirms that, yes, her death was absolutely caused by a shark, but more specifically, a rather unusually large one, like bigger than anything he's ever seen before. I don't know if it was me. Was it me that it felt like a little weird that he was getting sick at the autopsy? I mean, yeah, he's an oceanographer, and he wouldn't deal with that. But
think about it. It's a human body.
Oh yeah,
and they're badly decomposed.
Yeah, they don't smell great. They don't smell the greatest,
It's probably the smell.
I do like how he gets in there and he starts talking this jargon, and he said it was probably eaten by I can't even remember.
The scientific name for a shark.
The scientific name of the shark is not what he said. The scientific name or the Latin name for the shark is Carcarium carcarius. I can't pronounce. I might be wrong in that, so don't quote me, but it's something like that. Carcarius, Carcardian, or something. I don't fucking know. But it was kind of neat to see him talk science jargon, even though he's really not talking science. He's just talking out his ass. It was great. I liked it. It made it had the realism to it. At least they tried. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and the other part, him sitting there, and he's like, "Can I have a glass of water, please?" And he's like, takes a drink of it, and he goes, and then he says his spiel, and then he looks at the doc. This was no boating accident.
Did you notify the Coast Guard?
Did you notify the Coast Guard? And another part is he's going off on his rant and shit, and he's like, "Don't smoke in here." He just goes back to his. That's why I love Hooper. He's so fucking good.
I do love the attitude of him just be like, listen, y'all fucking idiots. Like, this is what's going on here. Like, you need to cut the shit. Obviously, this is not the last time we hear or see him say this or do this. But, yeah, I did appreciate that in the coroner's office where he's like, fucking idiots. It wasn't a boating accident. You fucking dumb. It's a goddamn shark. Right. But unusually large one. So, which leads in coincidentally to, we see a scene where a bunch of people are trying to obviously explore the nearby ocean, trying to capture the damn thing on their own.
So the Kittner mother had put a bounty of $3,000 on anybody that can kill the shark.
Oh, it was the mother. I didn't catch that part. I didn't catch that. So everybody and their mother obviously is trying to get this bounty. So when apparently a local fisherman catches a tiger shark, at which point that instantly creates the thing of, oh, well, this is clearly the shark. This is clearly the moment. This is it. Blood still in his mouth, all that stuff. And of course, that is we see the infamous scene where Mrs. Kittner comes in to confront Brody, does the slap, and blames him for her son's death. Well, I don't know if he would say she blames him, but she does make him feel super fucking guilty about it. Basically saying that.
So she does blame him because her words are, "You knew and you did nothing about it."
So I called it the slap heard round the world. It was undeserved. The wrong person got fucking hit. Yeah, the mayor is the one that should have been slapped. Because Brody did want to shut the beaches down, but Brody took the... This is why Brody's character is so good as well, because he took the brunt, because he's a police chief. So he's protecting the mayor unjustifiably. He should have... He said, this motherfucker is the one that didn't want to close the beaches, slap the fuck out of him. That's what I would have fucking done. This guy's a fucking idiot. All he cares about is fucking money.
Yep. So I personally like that because I figured that would be like where Hooper was on the fence about what to do. This would just push him right into that righteousness phase of like, all right, yep, fuck this. We're going to go ahead and do this. And it does make more sense now. And that to me, that scene was more important because it puts in perspective of, no, we're going to fucking catch this fucking thing now. You know what I mean? Like he's now more, it's the motivation and drive, righteous or otherwise, to be like, all right, you know what, fuck you, we're going to get this
right up
thing.
To this point, Brody and everybody thinks Hooper's not convinced because Hooper's the smart one here because he's a fucking oceanographer and he's a shark expert. He knows that this is not the fucking shark because I'm going to put up the GIF.
I was going to say.
I forgot.
I put so much fucking work into finding these for your ass. Nope, next one. Yeah.
There's the GIF of them going, well, what kind of shark is it? And Hooper goes, it's a tiger shark. And the one guy turns and looks and goes, oh, what? So
yeah, I love that. It was like, we're fucking screwed.
Right. So, and I forgot about the GIFs because we started talking. So here's the GIF of the first GIF. Nice day for a swim.
What?
Oh, what?
Oh, what?
So, and Heather did that while we were watching the movie, so I'm sorry. I apologize. I feel like an ass now.
No. It's all good. Listen, you got it up there. You got it just in the nick of time.
You're right.
So of course, like JP just said, Hooper's like, that's probably not it. Once again, the mayor gets involved. He's like, no way. We 4th of July is coming. We got to make good business, big business. I'm like, fuck you. So of course he does say, like, listen, sharks' digestive tracts are relatively slow. Cut this thing open. That'll confirm if there's remains in this thing. That confirms that this is the shark. Which the mayor's like, I'm not going to be. I will agree. This is the one thing I actually agree with on the mayor in the entire fucking movie is. He's like, I'm not going to cut open a remains in front of a widow. I'm like, okay, that I can actually
understand, and he's right there, and I don't think they were going to do that because
not right there. No, Richard Dreyfuss sits there and says, "Let's move this thing away from the crowd, cut open his stomach, and see what's in there."
Right.
Yeah.
I do. So that is probably the end of Act 1. I did the acts in 40-minute increments because the movie's about 2 hours.
Yeah, which I was like, wow, I did not expect. I did not remember it being this long. But.
Right, I did. Actually, it's like an hour and 56 minutes long.
No,
something like that. Yeah.
Well, you
2
got
hours and 3 minutes.
You got credits and stuff at the end.
But more or less around that time.
So I put the end of the slap heard around the world, and then they go to the scene where Hooper comes over for dinner.
Yep.
And one of the most iconic moments and I would call it human moments in the movie is Heather was taking notes at this time. She says a pure father-son moment before.
Oh yes, the kiss me because
he's mocking everything his dad's doing, and it's one of those moments that sometimes kids do those things, and I don't remember if they told him to do that or if he just did it. It made me believe it.
It was a very human moment.
Yeah.
It had a lot of humanity to it. I personally liked it because it was just what was needed at the time. Like it was, here you have a guy who's like 2 people presumably dead on his watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
His fault or otherwise, it's on him, and he's obviously feeling guilty about it. Right. But it's a moment that reminded him, his son's safe and his kids are safe, and he's like, it just that like loving, tender moment where it's like where you like have a crappy day. And your kid comes over and hugs you, and you're like,
"It's exactly what I needed."
Yeah, exactly. I will say, if we're going in acts, this is probably my favorite in terms of pacing.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's very odd about this movie to me, anyway, is that, and again, this might be personal preference because ADHD. The first act went pretty. Not fast, but just faster than I was expecting it to pace-wise. Right. Because it set up and established the stakes pretty quick.
Yeah.
Jaws, something, monster, shark, got it, boom. And now when they're towards the end of the other act, you're adding other elements like the mayor, like Quint, like the oceanographer. So there's different pockets of things that are going on throughout the story, which obviously will all come into their own at the third act. But I like how it's kind of like something shit hits the fan and kind of like everything's like fuck, and then like act 2 it's starting to come in back, and then act 3 it's all about the 3 of them on the boat. So just interesting how like the pacing scale goes almost the exact opposite at the end,
and yet you still get a good story.
So there was a scene. Yeah. There was a scene before the tiger shark and the slap heard around the world. The 2 guys on the dock.
Yes.
His wife's roast. He takes the wife's roast and throws it in the water, and the shark takes it.
Waste of a roast.
The guy. Can we go home now?
Yeah. I mean, I did like that scene. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
The thing I like about that was the near the near catch.
Yeah.
Shark almost got him. So it's not like
Correct.
every time you see the shark, he's going to kill someone, which adds to the element of who the fuck's going to get killed, who the fuck's going to get attacked, who, like, you don't know. And that I liked because it gave you the one thing the movie does that I really, really like is the suspense. The suspense is very hard to knock on this movie, if at all,
Right.
because goddamn, there's just enough tension and enough anxiety, enough anxiousness in these moments, in certain moments in the movie where you're like, fuck, and then it just like it either dissipates from nothing happens, or someone's dead. You're like, Jesus, but like. I've seen this. It's an old movie, obviously, but it still does that very well. Where you're just like, and when the guy trying to crawl up the deck, and you're like, oh, the shark drags off, and then it like loops back around. You're like, oh shit, and the guy's like, don't even bother fucking move it. Look at just fucking swim, and you're like, oh god, he's gonna die, and then he doesn't. You're like, oh,
Right.
fuck.
Yep. But I did like that. That was one of my scenes. Was actually really good. I enjoyed that scene.
Oh yeah, no, I did too. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say we can go back. So now we're to the point where Hooper comes over and Ellen says, "So my husband tells me that you're in Sharks." Again, some of the one-liners in this movie. Although this movie is it's a tense movie, it still has those lines in there that they make you laugh. They release the tension, but then the tension builds back up.
It's a good balancing act. It's a couple of things in the chat real quick. Jurgen says the mayor was a complete and utter jerk. Completely agree. Jurgen also says, when I saw that part, oh god, the kid is got torn apart. I was the only one in my family to get right the shark that they caught. Cody says Jaws got me into liking sharks. They are my favorite animal, and now I enjoy watching Shark Week and learning about them. Hell of a movie to catch your
Without
interest in
this
sharks,
movie, we wouldn't have Shark Week.
Yep. I mean,
it's true.
Yes. So yeah, I like Heather puts Brody gets drunk and they decide to go do an autopsy on the shark. So they decide to cut the shark open. They find a head of a fish. I don't know what kind of fish it is. They find a whole fish and a license plate from Louisiana.
That was fucking hilarious. I don't give a shit who you are. That was fucking funny. They all swim up.
Again, Brody. And again, Brody says, "What did you do? Eat a car?"
Yeah.
And again, Hooper explains it eloquently, which is the truth. Tiger sharks are like a garbage They're a garbage can. They'll eat anything.
Yep.
So yeah. So they tiger shark. They empty. No human remains. So we know it's not the Kintner boy. And one of the great lines in the movie, another great line in the movie, an underrated line in the movie is, I don't know, but all I know is you got a shark with a mouth about that big.
Yeah.
And then, so they get in, and of course, they get into Hooper's boat. Again, another liner. Him and Brody are sitting there, and Brody asks him, "Are you rich?" He goes, "Yes." just these quick interactions, discussions is great. I don't. It's like not whole dialogue needs to be said. You know what I mean? It's just like
it makes it more real too. I think anyway, especially because I know people who talk like that. You know what I mean? Like the little quips and stuff in between and just stuff like that. What I found interesting was that Hoop, probably lock it up to being drunk. Hooper's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna go out right now. Are you fucking what? So right after they cut open the shark, right after, we're gonna go find the thing.
I'm not drunk enough for this.
Oh, he gets drunk. He's drunk. He takes the fucking wine on the boat.
So they find amongst their drinking, they find a half-sunken vessel while searching the night.
Heather, how is this still floating with the hole in it?
Logic gap number 1. Well, not logic gap number 2.
I'm just saying.
Oh wait till you get there's a little bit of a mini rant I have about this that makes no fucking sense, but we'll get to that in a second. So again, as if being drunk on a boat in the middle of the ocean while a fucking giant ass shark is killing people, let's go underwater. Let's go underwater and see this. So Hooper tries to search the hull of the boat. He sees the damage to it. He's able to remove one of the tooths from the boat's hull, but of course drops it immediately after discovering the corpse of local fisherman Ben Gardner. Great jump scare, by the way. Fucking fantastic. Great timing. Love that. Sort of classic, obviously, at this point, but I love that.
I'm with you.
Yep. So of course, I believe it's the mayor. Yep. They instantly cut to them talking to the mayor. Right, so they cut from that scene right to the next day of Hooper and Brody arguing with the mayor, saying like, "Listen, fucking found this thing," and it becomes this like dynamic once again of like Hooper's and Brody standing their ground, the mayor's being, "No, I don't care what's gonna happen. Do what you can to make these waters safe, but damn it, these beaches will open 4th of July." And that's when he points over and notices that unfortunately their beloved sign got graffitied.
The billboard.
The billboard, yes. That is juvenile desecration, and that is
vandalism.
I couldn't think of the phrase vandalism. But like, yeah, just increase the safety precautions, blah blah blah. And I love how like as they're saying this, you see the ferry of like God knows how many fucking people coming by. Yeah. So you see tourists are packing this place, and this is where I have a problem with this movie, specifically the mayor. So at this point, the beaches are packed, but no one's going in the water. Because at this point, word has traveled and the papers have picked up the news and all that stuff.
So the issue, this is really where it takes a turn, and the mayor is really a dumb shit. Because he's like, he told Brody, you do what you have to do, the beaches will be open. And then he shows up at the beach and a helicopter's flying over and they got the fucking lifeguards there and they got the fucking boats out there. And he goes, that son of a bitch. Like, what do you want him to fucking do? Either that or close the fucking beach, you motherfucker.
So that wasn't my problem. My problem is what the mayor says to his friend.
Well, actually, I think it's his father-in-law.
Or whoever it is, to get in the water. So here's the thing. I understand logically, right? You don't want to close beaches because they're a great tourist attraction and tourist money bringing that. That hook, line, and sinker, no pun intended, I get that. That makes sense to me. What, if anything, that's probably the best case scenario is people on the boats, or people on the beaches and nobody in the water. They're still here. You still spend the money. What does it change anything for letting people, like, I don't understand why the mayor would literally push people to go in the water.
He's an idiot. I think well, I mean, that's where the shark is. They had to do it, but but you know what I'm saying? Like, his argument is, they're going to drive the tourists away. Fine. It's a logic gap because he's already made the money. They showed up.
Yeah.
People showed up.
That's my point. That's the one thing I'm like, that to me makes no feasible sense. No. I do not understand.
I agree with you on that one. I'm like, I even told Heather, like, why is he telling people to go in the water? They're already fucking there. They're already spending money. Why does it matter if they get in the water? What is he going to make more money if they go in the water? I mean,
unless you had like some sort of bullshit excuse of like, oh well, they were doing like a photo shoot and we need people to be in the water to make the place look good, or you know what I mean, like something like connect the dots. But like that part just really bugged me. It's like, why are you physically trying to push them in the water? If anything, you have the best fucking case scenario where people are at the beach, not in the water. Like, just quit while you're fucking ahead.
Right. 100% agree. And I think Heather will agree. I think she shook her head as she was walking by with a diaper.
She hopefully Wendy's, not yours.
Did I tell Heather to change my diaper?
Do you need changing?
Nope, I don't have a diaper. But yeah, it's the mayor's an idiot.
The mayor is a greedy fuck.
I just don't get why he wanted to
about why is he telling people to go in the water? They're already there. Why does it matter if they go in the water or not?
I can understand it if they have a spot where they have float rentals or paddle boat rentals.
I mean,
To go in the water.
I can understand
but
that.
none of that is actually shown, so I don't think they do.
But I was even saying, like, even if they do something like oh, we have to, like, there's a photo shoot, and if we have people in the water, like, or like something to the effect of like we're gonna be getting a grant for the beach, and we need to show that it's an active location. You know what I mean? Like some sort of bullshit excuse. It's like, oh, it needs to have people in there because otherwise X, Y, and Z will be the effect of it, and it just doesn't make any sense. That was the only glaring thing about this that really I was like, what the fuck, you know? Yeah, Alpha. I'm like, yeah. Of all the states they had to pick, they had to fucking do it in mine. So of course we get the mayor shoving people into the water.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, 4th of July weekend, the tourist packs the beach. We see a fake out. We see a shark fin, which I fucking thought that was funny. We see a shark fin, and we have everybody scrambling. I love how the kids poke their head up and fucking they're being pointed at by barrels of guns. It's just great. Now, on the side note of this, there's also apparently like an adjacent pond that's connected to the ocean that's
Lagoon.
not too far
I
away.
think they called it a lagoon.
That Brody sent.
Yeah.
That Brody's like, so send the kids over there, and he does it as a precautionary measure, thinking like even though if people are going into the water, the kids will be safe over there. So obviously the juvenile prank happens. Everyone gets scared shitless, and they get the fuck out of the ocean. However, big old boy Blue still shows up, and you see the fin start to head over towards the pond area.
And a lady yelling shark.
Yeah. Is it just me, or is it, I mean, maybe I do believe this, where like you see the group of people like following the shark. Not trying to help people or anything. They're just following the. It's like watching a car crash just in real life. You just watch it. I don't know. I'm like these people are dumb, but at the same time, like.
I mean, I would be in awe. I would be in awe.
It's to go with that. It's to go with that sense of fear that everybody has. It's like, okay, I need to see what I'm afraid of. At the same time, I want to be at a safe distance, so we're gonna watch it from the beach. But at the same time, a lot of those people don't realize that there's those two kids over in the lagoon.
Well, there's more than two kids.
Yeah.
It was 4 or 5 of them. And then that fucking, the Boy Scout leader.
Yeah, where did he come from? Operation Human Shield over here. Just like, you guys doing okay? I'm like, he's fucking gone, man.
That little fucking soapbox fucking boat that he was in. That was fucking great. So he's in there. He goes, "Hey, are you boys over there? Aye."
Like, there's your meat shield. There's your fucking meat shield right there. They're not gonna kill the main characters' kids. There's no way. Mm-hmm. There's your meat shield right there. It's gonna be a close. So, again, it's back to like what you said before, JP, where he just swims by. Like, what?
Right. I mean, the one girl's like, "Shark, shark." And then, like, all of a sudden, everybody's like... So, when the shark hits the boat, the dinghy, or whatever the fuck he was, a bathtub, whatever the fuck the guy was in, right? And all of a sudden, the guy's like... This is the first... Everybody says the first time you see the shark is when the shark comes out of the water and Brody backs up and says, "You need to be..." Nope. You actually see the shark in the scene. And he sits there and he's screaming and screaming. Yeah, I know. Isn't that great? He's screaming and screaming and screaming. And all of a sudden everybody's like, what the fuck is that guy's fucking problem? He's over there fucking screaming and shit. And of course it rips his leg off and you see the leg float to the bottom of the ocean. Now the part... The next thing you see is Mike Brody, who had been knocked off the boat from the impact. The shark, actually, what that was, and it was explained in the video, in the DVD, the shark had the guy, and but they didn't have the guy scream. He was probably already dead by this time.
Oh, okay.
which put Mike Brody in shock,
His mouth was full.
and then so
Yeah.
they end up pulling him off, and that's how that scene ends. In the next
Okay,
scene,
that makes sense. I was confused because it was like the scene you said before, where like he just swims by kids. It's like, what the fuck? But that makes more sense to me. I mean, the shock thing, Jesus Christ, totally understand that. But I didn't understand why he just was like, peace out.
I'll be back for you and Jaws too, motherfucker.
You got dessert, man. I mean, what the fuck? Like, no time to go keto on me now. Like, come on. But this was, of course, the turning point for the mayor. Thank fucking God.
He was still reluctant to do it though. How you doing, Ray Sean?
What's up, Ray Sean?
Ray Show!
Rest the fuck out.
What?
I have no idea what he said.
I am stressed the fuck out.
Yep.
I just left fucking work. I'm waiting for the fucking train to go to the fucking bar to drink and then go fucking home.
Okay.
Cheers.
Today,
Hurry it up. Let it out.
Dun, dun,
nah, I'm not letting it out.
Okay.
How y'all doing?
So the mayor. So Heather put here the mayor still doesn't want to close the beaches, which I full on disagree with. He was essentially in shock,
Smoking a cigarette.
smoking a cigarette in a
emergency room.
in a fucking hospital. The fucker lights a cigarette.
70s.
That's gonna be too much for your stomach.
I don't know if
Do you
he.
want chocolate
I think he was in shock and trying to come to grips with what was going on.
Well,
I
he
think
finally
that's what
figured out that he is not. I like how you are now the mayor of Shark City. And then Brody told him that. He said you were going. I was just looking out for the best interest of the people. He's like,
I think that. Yeah, I think that's
you
what he was
are going to, and now you're going to do this. We're going to pay Quint. We're going to go get. Here's a voucher. Sign it. We're going to go kill this shark. So
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think I don't think I didn't take it away as he was like trying to keep the beaches closed. I think he was like, my kids were at that beach too. The same thing you just said, like, it's like I was doing what's. But I think he was just kind of like that moment of like, he's like, shit, this is really fucking bad. I really fucked up big time. I need to like come to grips with what I did. Sign me up. Let's do this right now. Let's do this. I think that was like Brody's like, do you need me to do any more convincing at this point? Like, come the fuck on.
right.
I didn't even know y'all was live.
It's all right.
Oh, sorry. It's all good. We're talking Jaws. The good stuff. But you're good. It's all good. So now comes, I guess this would be Act 3, right? Or getting close to it, where we see
We're getting there.
this point. It's pretty much Quint, Brody, and Hooper are all setting out. They're going to go out to using Quint's boat, the Orca. Love the name of that boat. To hunt down the shark.
Mhm.
I also did love how Brody's come kind of full circle a little bit in this, in the sense of, sorry, I got distracted by Heather chugging chocolate sauce.
What the fuck are you doing?
There was only a little bit of chocolate syrup left, so I just made chocolate milk in here to make it easier to pour for Wendy.
Whatever.
That's not anyway. So I do love how Brody. It was implied and mentioned previously that he hates the water, and yet he's willing to go at this point. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. To do whatever it takes to take on the shark once and for all. I thought that was a nice little moment there.
Yep. Yeah, I do like what Heather puts in here. Mayor still doesn't want to close beaches after attack, but Brody convinces him to sign a contract with the bounty fisherman Quint. Quint and Hooper hit it off splendidly.
Quint's my favorite.
Before setting off to find the shark. Now what he does is he's got city hands. Says
So-
Quint.
I do love the dynamic between these two, with Quint being the rough and tumble fisherman who's seen and done everything. He knows what he's in for. He knows that this is a big task. He's there to do things the gruff, grim, and grimy way. And Hooper is essentially the stereotypical city boy nerd, which it's polar opposites, absolutely. Which
Water
I
and
really,
vinegar.
really like. You're right. The dynamic is great.
Yep. The dynamic is great between them two. He has him tie a sheep shank, which I don't even know what the fuck a sheep shank is. I'm not gonna fucking go into it. He didn't even really tie a sheep shank, and he throws it at him, and that's when he grabs his hands. He goes, "You've got city hands," and he's like,
Yep.
"I don't need to take this shit." He goes, "I'm the captain. You are my mates." Like Quint is on. You can tell that Quint is on a death mission.
Yeah, he's on a different level with them because he wants to understand. Like, listen, you two think you're coming out here to catch the shark, but I'm in a different mindset with this thing. I've dealt with more things. I've and you see it when he walks in. You just see his place plastered
with shark
with
jaws.
He definitely.
Yep, shark jaws.
He's got a vendetta against all sharks, and it's revealed later on in the movie why. Not too much
We'll get
later
to
on.
we'll get to it though. But Quint and Doc hit it off splendidly. They set off to find and kill a shark. Quint teaches Brody sailing knots to kill time before strapping in for the ride of a lifetime. The fishing wire, not piano wire.
It was piano wire.
Whatever. Anyway,
It's a little stronger. Piano wire is a little stronger. So while
It's
Brody
actually
lays
a
down the
deleted
chum
scene,
line, Quinn waits for an opportunity to hook the shark. I'll be honest with you, didn't think this was a way to hunt a goddamn shark. Now, granted, I understand that they didn't understand the scope of the shark until a little later on. But I don't know about you, but I was like, wait, they're gonna try and actually use a fucking fishing rod? I mean, piano wire, yeah, but like, I was like, I thought they would have done something like I fucking harpoon the bastard, you know? I that's what I would have thought. But I do love this to me showcases Quint's it validates Quint's like abilities in his mindset because he's got the thing off and he sees it going off just a little bit, and you see him get in his chair, strap himself in, buckle himself the right way, and it's like, let's fucking go. So with that, without that, without warning, it comes right behind the boat. Quint, after hustling and tussling with this line, estimates that the shark is 25 feet in length.
It's not. There is debate.
He estimates.
Well, they don't even have the shark yet.
Right. No, I'm right. They haven't caught the shark yet, but he's estimating based off of the way whatever little he saw and dealt with at that point, and weighs at 3 tons, not tons, which that's insane. And then what I thought was probably the most genius thing they could have done was they harpoon it with a line attached with a flotation barrel.
Yep.
In order to track the thing.
Right.
Before all this, Hooper is sitting there arguing with Quint that it's a marlin or a tuna or a sailfish.
It's not, or a stingray.
It's not a shark.
It's not a shark.
Yeah.
And
telling you it's a shark.
Well, no, I don't think it was. Because
Really?
then it breaks away, and then
that's when Quint sits there and says,
Quint goes, "Get back to chumming."
No, Quint sits there and says, Marlin's going to chew through this piano wire.
Well, he broke the wire.
Right.
Hooper broke the wire. The shark didn't eat through it. Brody gets back to chumming, and that's when you see the shark pop out of the water. And
Mother fucking jump scare is the only thing that got me.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
And he backs up and he says, "Quint, you're going to need a bigger boat."
Yep.
The funny part about this scene is now the shark is in full scale. Now you see the shark, and this is where Quint says, where Hooper says it's 20 feet. And he goes, "No, 25, maybe 30, and 3 tons on him." And then, And then Doc, she keeps on calling him Doc. Hooper, it's fine. Hooper says, "Get out to the pulpit." I need to give it some scale. And he's like, damn your scale, or whatever he said.
Yeah,
or damn your background. Damn your background.
Yeah.
And then, so Mrs. Brody calls and asks what's going on. And he goes, caught a couple of stripers, nothing big. He lies to her. And we'll be home by dinner time, I think he said. Mm-hmm. And then this is where Quint is setting up the harpoon to shoot the shark.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I did. No, I'm just saying I did love that part where he's like, get out on there. He's like, fuck that. And I don't blame him because it's like, it's this little tiny little narrow passageway. And it's like, you're out in the little, like, you're shit's luck. Like, no way. I don't blame him for feeling like, to hell with that. But I did like, okay, they obviously can't catch the thing via fishing / piano wire. I get that. But I think the barrel was probably the smartest thing to do in order to, obviously keep track of it. Mm-hmm. But the problem is Jaws here is smarter than the average shark.
This is correct.
And he's able to pull the barrel with him underneath the water. So, they have to wait things out, and they have to wait things out on the boat. So at nightfall comes, and they all get pretty damn hammered. And this is a fun scene because not only do they share stories about their own, like, different scars, Hooper and Quint exchange stories about scars, but at this point, Quint then mentions about a tattoo.
Well, no, Hooper points at it and goes, what is that? And Quint goes, what, this? That's the Indianapolis. And then he tells the story of the Indianapolis, which is a very accurate and true story.
From World War II.
Yes.
From World War II. It is a true story. If you don't know the story of the Indianapolis, and Quint tells it perfectly, the Indianapolis was delivering the first bomb.
Yes, the first nuclear weapon ever used.
The first nuclear weapon, or A-bomb, or atom bomb as they called it back then. And it was struck by a Japanese submarine and sunk, and there was a huge Shark Week, a Shark Week movie-like type deal that they did with that, where it talked about the kinds of sharks that they had there, and there was no great whites, but it was mostly blue tips and gray tiger sharks, maybe tiger sharks, possibly. I don't. But either way, he goes into great detail, and then you really understand why he is on this mission to get this shark.
Yep. The thing to note too, and this is just a little sprinkling on top of his story. So he explains how, like kind of JP said, the boat was in lieu to deliver, and it got hit by a Japanese sub. The problem was no distress signal was being able to send out. So there was no backup or anything coming.
And that is accurate. That is very accurate.
And nobody knew their exact location.
Yeah, because it was a secret mission.
This is true. This is all true story too. There were 890. There was a total of 1,195 crewmen aboard. Mm-hmm. 300 went down with the ship, but the remaining 890 were taken out by a variety of different things, from exposure, dehydration, saltwater poisoning, and shark attacks. He even goes into detail about how literally the group of them would surround themselves and try to scream and yell to get the sharks away. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. And he talks about the fear of literally like waiting for to be his next turn. And
waking up one
which
morning,
is why he hates sharks so much.
And waking up one morning thinking his best friend Charlie's sleeping next to him, and instead, in the middle of the night, a shark had eaten him in half.
Yep, really brutal stuff. And I do love the I love how no matter who it is in life, when you have drunk people together, things get either very deep or they get very hilarious. And this movie proves that still holds true to this day.
And then they go into...
They break into song.
They break into song, and they sing the song, I wanna go home. Boom, boom,
show me
boom.
the way to go home. Yep. I'm tired, I wanna go to bed. Yep.
And then they start beating, and then the next thing you know...
Thunk.
The shark is now
In comes
Attacking
Donna.
the
He
boat.
has he has plotted his mission. He knows the shark
Yep.
knows what he's doing. So
I love how you heard a whale go off before, which
Yeah.
I
yes,
personally
well the
giggled.
whale was going off
Um,
while he was hitting the boat too, which was quite interesting.
I thought they were going to go somewhere with that, but
No, I
no.
didn't think they would.
I think it was just to add to the suspense because they stopped talking to hear a strange noise off in the distance.
Yeah, that's probably
So it just
that's
builds
probably
that
true.
suspense there just to have it relax again. And
And
then
And then it attacks.
Yep.
So the shark rams the boat's hull and it disables the power. So
Mhm.
they ain't going anywhere. The men work through the night repairing the engine, but in the morning, Brody attempts to call the Coast Guard. But Quint, who has become obsessed with killing the shark without outside assistance, smashes the radio. Not gonna lie, dumb move. I'm actually with Brody on this one.
Yep, nope, I agree.
I think that I get the pride cometh before the fall, but that's exactly what happened. Is pride cometh before the fall? Because even he's like, well, they don't even know. Nobody is out here. Nobody knows we're here. Like, are you mad? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, good point. What the fuck are you gonna do at this point? You can't really do anything to go against him. So it's like,
Right.
fuck you and all that stuff. But after a little bit more time, they decide to. There's a little bit more back and forth with the barrels. I think there's another scene where they're trying to pull the barrel in, and the shark jump. I think is the shark jump scare him again.
Yes, it jump scares Quint and Hooper or Brody, I think, or
Brody,
Hooper,
yeah.
or Hooper, one of the two. So then they tie it to the cleats,
Yes, the edge of the boat.
and
Yep.
then it just starts dragging the boat, which is like, wow, this is one strong motherfucking shark.
Yep.
It's 25 feet and 3 tons, so it is big. It's bigger than that fucking boat that they have. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I forgot. They tried. They added, I think, two. They added a second barrel, maybe even the third.
They did. There was
It goes
3
under
barrels.
with them again, and then he comes around. They add it to the cleats to try and with the idea being is that we're going to try and pull it to the shoreline or as close to the shoreline as possible because we figured that would be an easier way to take the bastard out, or the stern cleat, excuse me. But as JP said, it starts to pull the boat towards it. So holy shit, Batman!
Right. So they tied the cleats the first time, and then the shark tried eating its way to them. So they're like, yeah, we need to get these cleats off of this motherfucker. So that's what they do, but that's how they get. But the cleats pop off or whatever. One of the great things is when they're tying off the cleats, Brody accidentally ties off the cleat
and traps Richard
and
Dreyfuss.
traps Hooper.
Oh my god.
That
I got
hurts.
scared of that.
That's happened to me before. That hurts like a motherfucker.
I was scared he was going to be the next victim when you saw that. You're like, oh, he's dead. He's dead. The shark's going to show up right at this exact moment, and it's like, oh, okay, still hurts, but
Right.
I was like, no, he's. I thought it was a little of a fake out, in terms of like jump scare, but, so they keep the barrels attached to the shark, but the shark is still kind of following them around a little bit. So Quint decides to head towards the shoreline to draw the shark into shallow water. But of course, between the damage and the lack of repair they didn't do to the boat beforehand, he overtaxes it and damages the engine and it fails. So it's completely flatlined. So they are floating around at this point. No power, no engine, no nothing. So at this point, there's also damage to the hull where it's now starting to slowly sink. So they try a little bit of a riskier approach with the good old shark-proof cage.
Yep. As you can see of the gifts I got up here, you're going to need a bigger boat, and the scene where they're the interaction between Hooper and Quint is just like this, like him fucking doing this to him. He's so great.
Fucking great stuff. So I just saw the gif. So Hooper enters the water in a shark-proof cage, intending to inject the shark lethally with strychnine, I think is what it's called.
It's strychnine cyanide or something like that.
Something like that.
Strychnine cyanide, using a hypodermic spear. So of course, naturally, it goes off without a hitch, and there's no issues whatsoever. No, the shark obviously attacks him. But he wisely, what I thought was kind of clever, he passes him and then attacks him from the rear.
Mm-hmm.
So as he has the spear outside the cage, he drops it, causing Hooper to, of course, get all sorts of panicked, as I would. The shark is thrashing in the tangled remains of the cage. I have to admit, I don't know if this would be something I would do per se, but Hooper, instead of getting out of the cage and trying to get back to the boat, he actually swims down and hides. I think that's actually rather clever. Obviously, it helps him. It doesn't help his teammates, but
Right.
I don't know if I'd be smart enough to
Well,
be like, oh,
what is he going to do?
that.
What is he going to do?
Right,
He's
gonna go
a
back on
small
sinking
little
ship.
man
Yeah.
against a 3-ton shark. I mean, what in real life? What's he going to do? So he's got to hopefully, hope to God that he wins.
Oh no, I
at the
agree.
date.
What I'm saying is, I wouldn't have thought of that in the moment.
Right,
I would have been like,
right.
get me on the boat, and then, well, it would have been fish chow.
Right. He gets out of there, and they try bringing. So the scenes that you're looking at when the shark is destroying the cage is an actual scene. An actual Mr. I can't remember their name. The Taylors, Valerie Taylor, is and her husband actually shot that footage that is shown in that movie.
So the scenes after he hits the cage.
Yeah.
When he hits the cage, that's the puppet. But the scenes after that, where he's swimming around and the cutscenes between that's actual footage of actual sharks.
Yeah, of an actual shark. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that was an actual shark. So they end up
You want me to fix it?
the shark gets away, and then he swims away, and then they bring the cage up and it's empty, and they think he's dead.
Right.
Then
So,
go ahead.
yep.
Well,
No,
then,
go ahead.
Asked him to do
then
it.
I know. Go ahead, Connor. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
it's all good. Go ahead. No, you got the lead. It's
So then the next, I think this is where, the shark pops out of the fucking water. This is one of the most famous scenes in all of the movie. The climax of all climaxes. There's about 10 minutes left in the movie. The shark pops up onto the boat and starts sinking the boat. Essentially, he's sinking the boat.
goodbye, Quint.
So that leads to this scene in the movie where Brody tries really hard, but he can't because he's just a scrawny 150-pound man. And Quint is then eaten by the shark. And he gets his wish. He dies by
Shark bite.
shark bite. His death was actually pretty
Dramatic. His was the most dramatic of the whole movie.
So,
Yep.
like, when the shark bites down on the legs the first time, you hear him scream in all fucking bloody murder. And then when the shark bites down on his stomach, and then he just gurgles his blood, and that he's dead. It is great acting by him. Great scene.
Yep.
Loved that scene. One of my favorite scenes of the movie, actually.
Poor Quint, my favorite character, gone so begotten. But yeah, this was pretty gruesome. This is so at this point, right? This is kind of going back to what I mean by like the pacing of it, right? So like, most movies like we've seen, at least I can remember recently, is you have like the climax happen, and there's like maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of like filler / wrap up, right? We are coming in at the last 15 minutes in this movie. One character is in scuba gear that we have no fucking idea where he is up until this point. He's down below. The shark's on their asses. One of the main three guys has been now literally chopped up to pieces or bitten up to pieces.
He's in
The
his
boat
stomach.
is sinking. Yeah. The boat is sinking and it's slowly coming down, and it's like, and then Brody's now got to try and fight this thing off on his fucking own. It's fucking nuts. These last 15 minutes are fucking insane.
It comes down to it that it's the one person that hates being in the water.
Yep.
So he grabs...
A harpoon.
No. Well, he grabs a harpoon and stabs him with it, but then he grabs the tank because he remembered, that's compressed air, it'll blow up. We didn't talk about that, but it was an insignificant scene, but it was an important scene because you remembered, compressed air, blow up. So I'm going to throw this in the shark's mouth, and then I'm going to get up into the crow's nest. There was a couple of jump scares in this scene with Brody when he's inside of the boat and he's trying to find all this shit when the shark plows through the fucking... The window. You can kind of see when he's coming, but it's still pretty good. It would have scared the shit out of me if it really happened. So he ends up throwing the tank into the shark's mouth. The shark backs away, and then he gets up on the crow's nest, and then he starts,
stabbing him with the harpoon when he gets close.
Yep, and then the shark backs away, and then he goes back, and then he does and then he's going to charge, and then he's like, I can't remember the words.
Show me the tank.
Show me the tank. Show me the tank. And then I got it. And then he says, "Smile, you son of a." I do hear him. He does say, "Smile, you son of a bitch," and then bang, he hits a shark and it blows up. Another logic gap because that was broken by the MythBusters. The tank might kill the shark, but it's not going to blow the shark up.
It's going to shoot through his insides.
It's going to shoot through his insides. The shark's still going to die, but he's not going to blow up. But I understand why they did what they did with the effects, because it's a movie. You got to have some explosion. So then that scene, that sound that you hear is in the movie Duel that Steven Spielberg used. It was a shark making his last growl before he dies, even though sharks don't even fucking growl. They don't make any noises.
I did kind of scratch my head a little bit about the end scene because you see obviously Brody's like laughing because it's like it's finally over, the madness is done. The boat's gone, but he's like literally like leaning on the crow's nest pillar while he's shooting down the shark. And then Hooper, convenient little prick, pulls up right next to him. He's like, "Is it done?" And I love how they're like both laughing. He's like, "Quint? No."
Nope, that motherfucker done.
I'm like, what the? Oh, all right, fine. And then they of course swim off into the sunset, which again, the whole idea that like literally this happens with like I'm not kidding, the last 5 minutes of the movie still kind of blows my mind because you don't see that anymore.
Right. So the thing is, but then it ends. There's no, the only interaction is at the end, like the final there's a question. Brody goes, "What day is it?" And then Hooper goes, "It's Wednesday." "No, Tuesday, I think." And that was it. That was the last line in the movie.
No, actually, the last line in the movie is, "I think the tide's with us."
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
So, that is the end of the movie, which they don't end movies like that anymore. It's like, well, we got to have this dialogue of epic proportions to end a movie. No. And the movie ended perfectly. Everything's done. These two have been through traumatic... I would never want to go back in the fucking water, ever. No. If I was Brody, I'd be like, motherfuckers, we're moving back to New York City. I ain't fucking dealing with this shit. No fucking more. I'm done. So, but that's just me. That's what I would do. I love this movie. For 1975, the practical effects, I'm glad they made this movie when they did, because if they would have made, I mean, it probably would have been really good if it came out now, if they didn't make it like Sharknado. But you know they would fucking do something stupid like that today.
Or the Meg.
The Meg wasn't bad, but it's because it's a fucking goddamn dinosaur shark. But I think that it might, as long as they had Steven Spielberg do it, I still think it'd be a good movie. I think it'd be a really good movie. But I'm glad that they did this when they did, and they pulled it off. They pulled this movie. If you don't like this movie, you're an idiot. You how can you not? It made you not want to. It made me not want to take a bath for a while. Even though
how long's a while?
I actually cried when the shark died. I was mad.
Again, not surprised by that.
I was mad when the shark died. I was happy when fucking Quint died. I was laughing, and even when the little boy died, I'm like, yeah, it serves you right for swimming in the water, you douche canoe.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. It well acted. The acting, the three actors in this movie made this movie work. When the shark worked, it worked. Even when the shark didn't work, it worked even better.
Yeah.
I think some of the best movie making is when the shark wasn't working.
What about you, Heather? What would you rate it?
I'm definitely gonna put this movie at a 9.
Yeah,
8.5, 9.
I'm with her. I might go 9. It's hard to give it a 9, but I'll go 8.5. This movie making isn't done like this anymore, and this is 1975, people.
Hey, this movie just proves the point that I make every time somebody sits there and says, "Oh, Saw is the best horror movie out there."
The fuck
Motherfucker,
is.
sit the fuck down, watch this movie, and then tell me I'm wrong.
But people go, it's a fake shark. Well, no shit, it's a fake shark, you fucking clown. They couldn't use a real one, you fucking idiot.
But it just comes to the point of, for a movie to be scary, you don't have to have people chopping each other to bits.
The only problem that I have with the shark is when sharks do attack or do whatever, they roll their eyes back to protect them. This shark didn't do that, which, again, it's nitpicking, but...
And for the time, they didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, and that's true. But look at the shark. I mean, it's about as real as it's going to get for 1975. I thought they did a really good job with this. Connor?
Sorry, my microphone wasn't working there for a second. There's not a lot that I hate. There's a lot to like about this movie. A lot to like about it. The thing for me is that a lot of this stuff still holds up. The pacing is weird. I'm not complaining about it. It's just I'm not used to this. You have the acting, great, music, great, directing, great. I have no complaints about any of that stuff. The things that I took away from it, even like the nitpicking was just the nitpicking. The story was the reason the story really sold it to me was kind of what you guys have been saying about the idea of you don't really see the shark until the very third act. You see very small tidbits here and there, but the reason I say that, horror movie is that unfortunately horror movie has this like trope or this preconceived notion of like a slasher film, like a Jason Voorhees or a Freddy or whatever. And so this to me feels more like a suspense thriller where, yes, there's the same elements of horror and you can make an argument in either case. And I'm not even arguing that like the typecasting, but the point is that like if you see a horror movie as those slasher films, obviously that's not what this is. That's not to say that this movie still does not invoke the feeling of fear in me, because it does a great job of doing that.
Yeah, and on top of that, this is something that could literally happen.
This could happen.
And it
Yeah.
does happen. There are thousands of people that die from shark attacks every year.
I mean the
It's
ending,
not to the scale of this.
the
but
ending with the shark jumping out of the water. I mean, you could see and landing on the boat. Yeah, it could happen, but very seldom does it happen.
But even still, there was enough of believability behind
Absolutely.
this, and enough of the setup to be so well done that, like, I think for me personally, that's what makes a good scary movie scary, is the suspension of disbelief. And there's things that are scary and terrifying and like fantasy and all that stuff. But like, you give me something that I believe can actually happen. Whoo, yeah, it's gonna. Real quick tangent. I'm a big fan of the American Horror Story show, right? Some seasons are better than others, but one of my favorite ones is the cult one, because the cult one is not one that does not go into supernatural or any sort of craziness, and it's like mental manipulation of people that I can actually see this happening in small towns. That's why I kind of relate to this one.
Right.
The pacing for the movie is weird for me, not in a bad way. It's just I've never seen a movie paced like this, where you have a lot of stuff going on at the very beginning in the first and second act. It's like you have a lot of information to digest. I love how they establish that, okay, boom, this is what the stakes are, and you slowly learn a little bit more about everything as things go on. And to an extent, the third act does slow down tremendously, but that's on purpose because it helps build up that suspense more. When you do see the shark, or if it gives you a fucking heart attack like it gave me, because I hate when jump scares get me. I hate when jump scares get me, because I'm like, oh, I see this coming, and then I don't. It's like I'm gonna punch somebody. It just makes it that much more effective. It's a great effective tool. It's the whole concept of, like, if you want to jump scare someone, you just talk really slow and then start to lower your voice to the point where they're not expecting it, and then bam, and then you scare them.
Yep.
I do it with my kids all the time.
Yep.
But that's what I related this to, is they're trying to set a slow pace where not a lot is going on, because when shit does happen, it's catching you off guard and it's giving you more of that intense feeling.
Right.
I'm right there with you as far as a 9, Heather. I mean, and JP, there is very, very little nitpicking. And even the pacing stuff, like I said, at first was kind of like, I'm like, man, this is taking a while, but that's the point. It's to build up the level of, like, shit's gonna happen. It's that whole, like, putting a glass on the edge of a table, like, you know it might fall, but it hasn't. You don't touch it, like, fuck. So fantastic. I forgot how good this was, and a lot of the stuff visually still holds up to this day.
Jaws 2, which is the next movie, the only problem that I have with that movie is it was made like 1978. So yeah, I guess I could buy that Mike Brody became a teenager. I thought it was like, I think it was made in like 1978 or whatever.
I'm looking.
So he was Mike Brody was like a senior in high school when that movie came out.
78.
So this was made in 73, came out in 75.
And he was already like 10, 11 years old.
But then he's 13 or 14. Well, he's still young. I don't think he's old enough to be out on a boat by himself at that age. So they make, but it's still believable. Shit like that could actually happen. Jaws 2. The problem with Jaws 2 is they start going into the revenge factor of the shark, which I don't buy.
Because they use that premise of it's the same exact shark, even though he blew up in this movie.
Well, no, they were... Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the premise that they went with.
Because when the shark jumps out of the water in the second one, you see the whole side of his face is scarred from the fucking scuba tank.
Sequels.
I thought that was because of the shark when they. I don't remember the shark having scars until after the boat blows up. But that's neither here nor there.
I notice little things like that. I can't help it.
Well, I'd have to watch Jaws 2. I'd have to watch the beginning. But, I mean, Jaws 3, come on. And then Jaws the Revenge, a shark can't, I mean, very seldom. I mean, it could happen. But then it just becomes, now the shark is, all these great whites are out to get the fucking Brody family because they keep killing them. It's like, fuck,
actually,
man?
Jaws 3 wasn't just because it was the Brodies. It was a shark they had brought into captivity. It was the baby of a mother shark who was the big shark.
And I think that movie came out in 1985, and fucking Mike Brody's 30 fucking years old. Like, what the fuck? It just went fucking too quick for me, and it's like, Again, I love shark movies, and now shark movies, I like Sharknado, just makes me never fucking want to watch a shark movie ever again.
Not unless it's a documentary.
Yeah. But Jaws and Jaws 2 are two of the better movies.
Another thing that really hurt Jaws 3 was it was Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D, I did see it in 3D in the theater, and my God. Oh my God, was that
terrible.
It was bad. It was bad. So, go ahead.
But yeah, so that was Jaws.
Yeah, I like I said, great movie. It won some Oscars. To you guys in the chat, 1 out of 10, what do you give it? I mean, if you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It is actually one of the classic. Heather called it a cult classic. I wouldn't call it a cult classic.
It has a cult following.
Of course it does.
And that makes it a cult classic.
Oh yeah.
But it has a following. But people like me, this movie here, like Cody said, made me fall in love with sharks. I wanted to know more about sharks after I watched this movie. So good. So good.
Cody said an 8.5 out of 10. Alpha said between a 7 and 8. Jurgen says giving it a perfect 10. I mean, I think no movie's perfect, but hey, teach their own. You know, it's hard to argue. Let me just put it this way: hard to argue this movie's not. This movie is nowhere near terrible or bad. No. Absolutely not. There is a lot. Excuse me, to really like about this. I mean, again, nitpicking aside, I loved it.
I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for our Jaws to review, and maybe hopefully you guys enjoyed this new movie review format as we venture off into new frontiers. Who's next on the list?
You.
Oh, okay. This will be fun. So with the theme of being horror movies, because I can't take anything fucking seriously, I have decided to take the fun one of Sam Raimi's third installment in the Evil Dead series, the original Evil Dead series. We're talking 1992's American horror comedy film known as Army of Darkness.
Are we doing a review, or are we going to actually watch it? I say do a review.
I think we'll do a review. So I think we'll be checking out that one next. That'll be
okay.
That'll be interesting. So also, we of course have No Bucks Given tomorrow right here on the channel. So if you guys want to come by and check it out, much obliged. And of course, Monday we continue the wonderful Marvel Roundtable with Iron Man 3.
The opposite, the complete opposite spectrum of this fucking movie. Let's put it like that. Shitty.
I wouldn't say complete opposite, but it's a very big opposite. But make sure you check out all the fun stuff. Subscribe, hit that bell so you're notified when we go live. And also, we might be doing some other 2K22 gameplay. Checked out the last two ones where we play Showcase Mode and GM Mode, which was honestly a lot more fun than I thought. So some great stuff all around. And JP, Heather, any last-minute thoughts?
No, we actually have 2K22. We have it up and running, so we will be joining in on the fun at some point. I'm hoping to be around as much as I possibly can. I know next weekend we are out of town, so I don't know. We'll be there for No Bucks Give. Well, Heather will be at least. I have to work the next day, so.
I'm always around. I'm always here, unless I'm sleeping, in which case, no. But I'll be around.
I want to thank everybody for joining, and I think doing the reviews instead of the watch-alongs, because there's so much dead
Air.
when we're watching a movie.
They're trying to hear what's going on.
I'm trying to understand what's going on in the movie, especially if I've never seen it. I like the review aspect of everything, because then I can give my opinions. And keep in mind, people, these are our opinions. These are not facts. But you're wrong if you disagree with me.
That's a t-shirt.
Just kidding. I don't care. But so that being said, I want to thank Connor for being here. We would have had more, but Basement's internet was wonky, and Trek must have fallen asleep, and Gina's still
under the weather.
And Heather, thank you for setting all this up. We'll have to change the background. I think we'll have to change the background to
since you're not going to be sitting at the computer on Monday, I'll be able to.
Right. So, with that being said, everybody have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow night for No Bucks Given. Good night, everybody.
Peace out, bitches.